Welcome back to Goals by the Numbers, where we look at the Premier League through the only lens that really truly matters: cold, heartless data. If football emotions are the weather, think of us as a weather report, but without a cheerful presenter pretending everything's absolutely fine. Today we're breaking down some of the stats from the Premier League season so far this season. So that will be form, XG, goals, crossing trends, and which goalkeepers are overperforming so much they might actually deserve a Christmas bonus. So, six sections. Let's just get straight into it. Form table. At the top of the form table, we've got Arsenal, surprise, surprise, Manchester City, Chelsea, Aston Villa, whose form has taken a bit of an upturn in the last few weeks, and Manchester United. Yes, Manchester United on their form table near the top. Feels a bit weird, doesn't it? Like seeing a good friend suddenly goes to the gym and drinking water. When did he change? Manchester United fans are in a little bit of disbelief. Based on some of the performances of the last two seasons, even I do look at the league sometimes and the form table and think, is this is this correct? Is this the men's team? Could be the women's team. Did someone filter it? Is this the under 14s? Meanwhile, at the bottom of the form table, we've got Wolves, rock bottom. Their form looks like it was drawn by someone who's never seen football before. And having watched some of their performances, I wonder if most of the team has never seen the football before. Last season, it took 11 matches before they won their first, that being against Crystal Palace. And they've already broken that record this season. So things seem to be going from terrible to really terrible. Once again, I would start preparing for the championship season if I was the club. But here's the interesting part. Despite the results that Wolves are experiencing, they actually do dominate one of the attacking metrics, and we'll have a look at that later on. XG and chance creation. Let's talk about expected goals because nothing says Premier League analysis quite like maths pretending to be destiny. At home, the team generating the most XG is, surprise, surprise, you guessed it, Manchester City. They seemingly create chances everywhere. And sometimes, if I'm honest, I do wonder if they could maybe even create some of their chances in the hotel before matches. It just seems to be relentless. But away from home, Liverpool top the league in chance creation. And that is despite the fact that Slot has managed to lose more matches than Ruben Amorim this calendar year. To be fair, though, he does have a Klopp squad that likes to press the ball like it insulted their mother, which is very handy to have. But the headline with this stat is the fact that overall, the team creating the most chances through XG this season is Chelsea. I don't know who I expected it to be. I just didn't think it would be Chelsea. And I'm not really sure why. So our third section, that would be goals and Erling Haaland. So moving on to finishing, and of course we start with Erling Haaland, who already has 14 goals this season in 11 matches. 14. It's not a football season for him. It's starting to feel more like a personal side quest. How many goals can he score by himself in the Premier League this season? Surely it's going to be about 35 at not even at a push. We'll have to keep an eye on that. The next cluster of top scorers across the various clubs are all sitting on 6, 5, and 4 goals. Haaland seems to be basically doing a solo sprint while everyone else is jogging behind him and trying to make sure their shoelaces are tied so they don't fall over in their pursuit. Outside of the main group, or maybe the peloton, to use a term for another sport, there is Igor Thiago, who isn't just scoring goals because he's the closest to Haaland with 8, but his defensive output is actually really good for a striker, or as the group of strikers. So he comes in the 90th percentile for tackles, 97th percentile for clearances, and 91st percentile for blocks as a striker. When I think about it, watching him play he's an absolute menace. He plays like someone who likes to impose himself on opposition defense in a really big way. It sometimes actually looks a bit old fashioned. I can definitely remember strikers in the mid 90s being like that, but yeah, it's more interesting to watch. So, our next step, shot on target percentage. Moving on to shot accuracy. Top of the league, we have Brentford and Burnley with 38.9% shot on target accuracy. Yes, Burnley. Burnley, who currently sit in 17th in the Premier League. If you are shocked, you're not alone. I was too. It's one of those stats that makes you tilt your head like a slightly confused dog, I guess. Chelsea follow with 38.2%, which makes sense as they're scoring, as they have the highest XG overall this season. West Ham follow with 37.7%, and Bournemouth and Brighton have 36.2%. These margins are relatively tight so far. I guess the kind of tight where VAR would still find a way to draw a line, leaving you offside because of the tip of your knee offside, ruining an absolutely perfectly good afternoon. What do we have next? Section 5. Crosses into the penalty area. Now, this is a bit of a fun one. Crosses into the box. Wolves lead the entire Premier League with 48 crosses. So they are top of the league for crosses, and yet bottom of the table for form and just a normal table. Wolves are crossing the ball. Wolves are crossing the ball, I guess, statistically, compared to the rest of the league, like maniacs. But nobody's actually there to finish. I guess a bit like sending out 48 party invitations and only one guy turns up without a present and is actually your top goal scorer. Because there's only one goal scored between all the top goal scorers for Wolves. Next up, we have Manchester United and Nottingham Forest on 31. So Wolves have crossed 17 more times than those two teams. Manchester United crossing the ball regularly feels like they are almost in a bit of a way reinventing themselves. So new identity, new approach, new season, new me or new them. Last season, they actually ended up with less crosses than Manchester City. The same Manchester City, who, along with Arsenal and Chelsea, all have less than 16 crosses so far this season. So those teams, when you add them to Manchester United and Nottingham Forest, still have less crosses than Wolves. I suppose with those three teams, Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester City, it's not like they're going to be allergic to crossing. But when you are so good at maintaining possession, why bother crossing, right? You can just pass through a team and score goals. What do we have next? Section 6. Section 6. Goalkeepers and PSXG. Now we have one of the most underrated metrics. It never really gets spoken about that much, but post-shot expected goals, essentially or basically, how many goals a goalkeeper prevents going in to what should have gone in. So the teams with the highest overperformers so far are Crystal Palace with a positive score of 3.9, Tottenham with a positive score of 3.7, and Manchester City with a positive score of 2.4. But Manchester City have used two goalkeepers. That's the caveat. Palace being at the top is impressive because, smaller clubs, smaller resources, so on and so forth. Tottenham being second is a little bit surprising because some of their results, as a non-Tottenham fan, seem to be up and down. And I'm not quite sure how happy the fans are, but stats are stats. Manchester City, having used two goalkeepers, sit in third. So that's not really bad considering that I guess in theory they had one goalkeeper and decided that someone else would be more suitable. So they went from James Trafford to Donnarumma. Dean Henderson is starring for Crystal Palace as their number one goalkeeper and is currently saving more shots or keeping out more shots than he should do, which is interesting because he actually used to play for Manchester United and was once viewed as a replacement for De Gea. And at same Manchester United, who currently sit at negative zero point 0.1 PSXG. Like Manchester City, Manchester United have also used two goalkeepers too. And their scores are Bayindir has minus or negative 1.6 and Lemens has plus 1.5. Lemens has the same PSXG as Jordan Pickford, who plays for Everton. And Pickford has played 5 more games. It feels like Manchester United's fan base at this point is just so happy to have a competent goalkeeper that he is likely to win fans player of the season or a Christmas bonus the way he's going. So our conclusion. What do we know from all of this? City, of course, still dominate underlying numbers. Chelsea create chances like a title challenger and are actually scoring the goals to match that. Wolves cross the ball more than Prime Beckham, but convert like they're playing rugby. And Haaland is doing Haaland things, scoring goals like it's going out of fashion. Football, once again, proving it's beautifully unpredictable, but also completely predictable. Let me know your thoughts on the stats that we have so far this season. Comments, questions, and concerns? Otherwise, enjoy your day and I'll catch you later.